as you guys are hearing me tell this story, I'm hoping you guys are realizing like shit has not always been sweet for me. In February of 2020, my life was turned completely upside down. Hey you guys, it's your girl Ivy and welcome back to my channel. I'm actually waiting to get a facial. I got here too early, so I figured I would go ahead and make a video. Really, I just like sitting here and talking to you guys. And I was just thinking about how my life has transformed over the last couple of years, and I made a video about how my life completely changed in less than 2 years. But I think it's important for me to get into details. And I say that because I have amazing friends and family who I see accomplishing all these things and who I'm inspired by every day. But because their lives aren't exactly how they imagined, especially at this age, a lot of us are turning 30 this year or next year. And so we're starting to look back on our lives and wonder like, damn, are we doing enough? Like, am I successful? And if we don't have the things that we imagined having at this age, we start to beat down on ourselves. But I wanted to make this video to talk about all the things that I've been through, because I think it's really important to remind people that even though I'm in this era of my life where so many amazing things are happening and I still feel so blessed to have them, there were times in my life where I felt like, you know, things were the complete opposite. My life was a shitstorm, especially coming out of undergrad. And so I want to use this as a moment to highlight that just because you may not be in a season where you are reaping all of these blessings and benefits from your prayers and from the work that you've done, it doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. Because sister girl, I've been there before too. So yeah, I think it's important for me to really get into detail, really break down some of the negative things that have happened to me over the years, not to have a pity party, but simply to say like it's a natural part of life, of growth, and of our evolution. So just because you may be, you know, in a space where things are going all wrong, it doesn't mean that in a year's time, in 2 years' time, hell, even in 6 months' time, your life won't make a complete 180. So let's bring it all the way back, right? Let's bring it back to when I was in undergrad, because I feel like when I was in undergrad, things were pretty good in that, you know, I was doing well in school. Things seemed to just flow naturally to me. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing well in school. I was president of the Black Business Student Association. I was balancing working part-time while going to school, while balancing my social life and being able to go and hang with my friends at their school. I was a cheerleader, and I got to join the sorority that I wanted to join on my first try. So things seemed great. Like, I just felt like I was truly thriving in undergrad. And following undergrad, I decided to pursue grad school right out of undergrad, because at that point I'm just like, well, you know, I'm not quite sure which route I want to take, but you know, I think having a master's would be amazing and would help position me even better in the corporate environment. So I decided to do that, and I took on this amazing graduate program that enabled me to live in Paris for a time. I was able to land an amazing internship following it at Blavity in LA. So I just thought things were, you know, just amazing career-wise or college-wise. But then reality set in afterwards. And all of this time between coming out of undergrad and then entering grad school, I had met a guy, And he was older, and at that time I'm thinking, because he was showing me things that I hadn't seen in the past with other broke college students, like, oh, he pays for everything, like, oh, he has his own place, like, whatever. I thought, like, okay, this clearly is better. Little naive me didn't realize that although he paid for things, although he had his own place, he was not the best partner emotionally. And a lot of his insecurities and the low self-esteem he had, he just kind of transferred that over to me. And this is not to down him, but I realized in that relationship that I was accepting it, and I stayed in it for so long because I had gotten things that I wasn't used to. However, there were also some really negative things that I was overlooking because of it. And this in turn caused my self-esteem to diminish, my insecurities to grow. And that ultimately kept me in that relationship, because for a while I felt like that's what I deserved, or that was the best that I could get. But that's neither here nor there. For right now, what I'm trying to communicate is that coming out of undergrad and coming out of grad school, I felt like I had accomplished so much, and I had accomplished so many things with ease. But when I graduated, reality hit me that, oh, adult life post-college isn't as easy as it seems. Because I graduated grad school thinking I would be able to come out of the gate making a good salary. And to me, in my mind at that time, a good starting salary for me would have been $60K, right? However, I came out of undergrad, and the only position I could land after my internship was a position that didn't even require my master's degree. I would even wager that it didn't even require my undergraduate degree. I got a job at a 5-star hotel as a reservations agent, right? Paying about like $14 an hour. Something that I could have done without the student loans. Something that I could have done without the higher education. But to me, I was just still grateful to be landing a job. And because my master's was in global luxury management, working at a 5-star hotel, I saw it as a great stepping stone. So I took the job, right? Not making that much. I was able to be promoted to trainer, which was awesome. In that role, I think stepping into my first big girl job out of undergrad, it showed me that I did have the discipline to do it. And so that was great, right? But then I got an opportunity at a tech company as an administrative assistant. Once again, did not require my graduate degree. So I realized that as I was applying, me having my graduate degree on my resume actually hurt my chances of getting interviews than if I were to leave them off. And at that time, I was just desperate for a better paying job. So I started to take off my master's degree on my resume so I could land jobs. So I got the job at the tech company as an administrative assistant. And there, the starting pay was like $35K. Remember, y'all, I said with my master's degree, I anticipated starting with no less than $60K, right? You are fed this idea that the more you further your education, the better your chances of landing a great job. But the reality is, a lot of these jobs want you to have like years of experience, even knowing that you are coming out of college. So I started as an admin assistant. I worked my butt off. There were some challenges. I think for most Black women who have worked in corporate, you know what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm putting down. There were challenges, but I still thrived. And there were 2 directors in particular who I supported that wanted me to roll up into their team. They took time to get to know me more, and they understood my educational background. They understood my work ethic. So they were talking about potentially pulling me on their team into another role. So one of them in particular, he seemed to grab at me first. And so I went from being an admin assistant to moving up into an assistant portfolio manager role pretty quickly in less than a year, which was amazing to me. I'm like, yes, okay, I can see myself really growing and thriving here. However, I won't say however, things were good, things were cool. And eventually that role matured from that of an assistant portfolio manager role to an e-commerce program manager role, which once again, amazing. These things are all taking place within a year and a half's time. So things were great. And that also included a pay bump. And me not knowing at that time, when this director asked me, how much do you think you should be paid with your promotion? I, just trying to be humble, not knowing any better. I didn't want to shoot too high. I didn't want to say 60K, even though at that time I felt like, yeah, I should be making at least 60K. Instead of saying that, I think I said like 45. And he was like, really, that's all? Just like, just a 10K bump? And I was like, no, okay, maybe like 50. I think 50 is fair. So he was like, okay, I'll take this back and I'll see if I can get it approved. Baby, this is how I knew I lowballed myself. I lowballed myself like hell. Anybody who understands the role of a program manager, please look up that salary and see how bad I played myself. And he knew I played myself, but obviously he's like, all right, she's thinking 50K is good enough. I ain't gonna, I'm not gonna argue it. So he went back, and when they came back with my offer, it was 5K more. They were like, we're gonna pay you 55K. And that's when I knew I fucked up. But anyway, I was still happy because this was a 20K bump from when I first started with the company as an admin assistant. So I was grateful. I took it. And in that following year of working for him, I was being asked to do a lot, including this man's job. And I was being stressed to the point of my migraines coming back, to the point of working on my birthday, because that was the expectation. Like working into the wee hours of the night. And this was impacting my daily life and impacting my personal relationship. And so it was a lot. However, with all of these things going on and this toxic work environment being created for me, I still tried to persevere and push through. And the VP, his boss, saw all the work that I was putting in and told me how he was actually interested in converting me to a permanent employee on the team, because this was a contractor role. So I was excited, and he's like, are you ready to start traveling overseas with us and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, heck yeah. And they had a bit of a change, a bit of a reorg. And so my boss was no longer going to be my boss. And there was a new guy who was taking over his role while he stepped into another role and focused on another division. And this is where shit really started to go left. So it's already a toxic work environment. I'm already doing your work. I'm already creating PowerPoint decks, and you're slapping your name on it and presenting. I'm already doing work and completing processes that I'm not even 100% familiar with, but I'm learning and doing it because you don't even take the time to truly train me, get me to understand these things. I just felt like I was set up for failure, honestly. And so with the change in management, me working under someone else, he just could not handle it. Another mistake I made was telling him the conversation I had with his boss, the VP. Because once he found out that his boss was trying to convert me, he did everything in his power to get me fired. And that's exactly what he did. For the longest time, I had such a hard time talking about this because it was truly so traumatic, especially with this being my first corporate job. It was so traumatic for me to climb and then just be pushed down on my fucking face. It was very traumatic. It was horrible. And it showed me that, like, despite putting my best foot forward, going above and beyond, like, if someone wants to ruin you, they can do it, especially if they have the connections to do so. So just randomly one day, without warning, I was messaged by my new boss to say that, you know, I didn't have to work anymore. And when he pulled me into the office, this man, the new manager, admitted to me that he thought I was doing great. However, he's new. He didn't want to step on any toes. He's still trying to get acclimated within the company. And my old boss kept going back to the VP and complaining about me and pushing for me to be let go. And that's what ultimately caused it. Not my performance, but simply the constant complaints of this old boss who just couldn't handle the fact that I was now under new management and I did not have to do his work anymore. So that hurt, especially, like I said, how I overextended myself and showed up way more than I needed to in order to thrive in this role, thinking I was doing good. It wasn't worth it. So I was out of a job, and this was at the top of COVID, y'all. Literally, I got let go February 2020. The whole country got shut down. So for me, I'm scrambling to find new work because at the end of the day, bills got to get paid. And as you guys are hearing me tell this story, I'm hoping you guys are realizing, like, shit has not always been sweet for me. Y'all see me now. I'm in a position that I really appreciate and I enjoy. I am with the love of my life. You know, we're in this beautiful home. I've been able to relocate, and, you know, we're starting our family. And just, the level of stress I feel is, I don't really feel stressed nowadays. And I'm so thankful to God for that. But it has not always been this way. And that's what I really want to convey in all of this, is that in February of 2020, my life was turned completely upside down. And a couple of years before that, my life had kind of started to decline, because I came from being on top of the world in undergrad and grad school to being humbled real bad, real bad. And then feeling like I was finding my footing again, just to be humbled real bad, real bad, all over again. And I just felt like, dang, God, like, I can't get a break. I cannot get a break. And so February of 2020, like, was one of the most challenging years for me, but it was also one of the most transformative years for me. I've heard, you know, when you hit rock bottom, the only place you can go from there is up. And that is truly a representation of my life. Literally, after I got let go from that company, I decided to, you know, just pick up a job that was less stress-free. Just picked up a job as a manager at a spa. I continued to look for work, but also, like I said, in the height of COVID, they shut a lot of things down. So I went back to being unemployed again for a time, and I was on unemployment, barely able to pay my bills, but somehow God made a way. Even when I was short, whether it was family, friends, whatever, God made a way. There was not 1 month that I did not pay my rent. Beyond that, I took a lot of that free time to reflect on self. I had also, I had also recently found out, like, at the end of 2019, that my boyfriend at the time was having a full-on affair with his coworker. And he had gaslighted me for like over a year, claiming that they were just friends and all of these things. But it came out that they were having a full-fledged sexual relationship, whatever. And so, like, while I'm stressing at work, I'm also coming to terms with the fact that my relationship is over. I lost my job. I lost my relationship. All of those things within the same few months. So yeah, it was a shit show. It was a shit show for me. But I took that moment instead to strengthen my relationship with God. So in 2020, I was doing a lot more praying, meditating. I was even like a lot more involved in crystal healing and those types of works, because I'm one of those people who feels like there are many pathways to the same God. You know, I think we tend to put a limit on God. And so for me, it's like in whichever ways I can connect with God, I'm going to do it. So I was fasting, I was praying, I was going to church more, I was listening to sermons more. I was just pouring into myself. And in doing so, I had come, you know, despite getting to the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds of interviews and not getting it, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling hella discouraged right now, but I know God has something better for me. And I said, you know what? For years, I've been wanting to move. I'm going to do it. And on my birthday, I keep saying it, Terrell was like, just do it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. My therapist said, just do it. You could still be pursuing the very things that you want to pursue right now in another state. Go for it. And I went for it. And having that faith, having that renewed faith in God, just learning to be grateful in whatever state that I'm at, because I found myself being the most happiest outside of that relationship, without that job, not really knowing how I was going to pay the bills. I found myself so happy and so grateful and just thanking God every day for the small things. And I think that is what really opened the door for me to receive these bigger blessings. So you guys know the rest. If you look at my last video, that's what happened. I moved, and in moving, I got offered like my dream role, making over 6 figures. Didn't I tell y'all that in 2020, I left that job making 55? That was the most that I had made. I came out of that job thinking my life was just spiraling. I got through the year, and by the next year, around the same time, I was offered a job that paid me double, y'all. You can't tell me there's not a God. You cannot tell me there's not a God. But I have to go and get this facial. So I'm going to come back for a part 2. Definitely not here, but probably at home or something like that. But I just want you guys to know, like, whatever you're going through right now, just thank God. I heard in a sermon, you know, it's just an interruption, but God is literally positioning you for where he wants you to go. That next higher place, that next blessing. So don't stress about it. Pray. Yeah, you can feel bad for a little bit, but just know that God's got you. And your life could look completely different in a few months and in a year. And I hope that my testimony gives you hope and inspires you, because just like it can happen to me, it can happen to you. Hope you guys have a lovely day. As usual, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.